First, I want to say good afternoon, and thank you all for coming in this afternoon. And then I would like to send my condolences to the Hogan family. My heart and prayers go out to them as they deal with this tragic event. On February 5th, 2021, at approximately 10:15 p.m., officers responded to 5010 Olive Road on a theft complaint. Upon officers' arrival, they were advised that a male individual had stolen items from the store and headed toward the apartment complexes down the street. Officers made contact with Mr. Hogan at the entrance to Kensington apartment complex. Hogan refused to follow orders and assaulted one of the officers on the scene. Additional attempts were made to gain compliance without success. Officers utilized a taser, pepper spray, and a foldable baton. Mr. Hogan fled on foot through the complex, and officers pursued on foot to 712 Kelford Place. While officers waited for additional units to respond and make contact with Mr. Hogan, he exited the apartment with a knife in hand, at which point he was fatally shot. Officers immediately rendered first aid and called for rescue personnel. This incident is the subject of a criminal and internal investigation, and the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation was called to the scene and will handle the criminal investigation. The officers involved in the incident were not injured and have been placed on administrative leave per our policies. Conclusions about whether the action of the officers are consistent with department policy or law will not be made until all facts are known and the investigation is completed. So anything now from reference what took place, I'm going to request that you contact the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigations because they have the investigation, and I'm waiting on their findings before I can make any statements on whether these actions were within policy and of the law. I know I'm not going to be able to answer many questions, but I will try to answer a few, because as I said, the Bureau of Criminal Investigation has this investigation. I know one question is going to be asked: did we have body cameras? No, we did not. All the cruiser video footage that we are compiling now, you guys as agencies have sent me requests for public records, and we're compiling all that information, and we will get packets out to you as soon as we can. Is there any questions?
Did you recover the knife that Mr. Hogan held?
Yes, the knife was recovered.
What, can you describe it in any fashion?
No, I cannot. I have not seen it.
How far away was Mr. Hogan from the officers who fired?
I can't answer that question because I don't want to give a misleading or a false statement. I do know it was in a confined space. I can tell you that much, but I'm not going to go into any specifics because I don't want anything that I say to come back and be changed and tarnish what the actual facts that come from this investigation reveal.
Is Mr. Hogan known by TPD on previous incidents at all?
I believe we had one encounter with Mr. Hogan, but I'm not going to say that he is known by these officers or you know, that he was a known person to us. But I do believe we did have an encounter with him in the past.
With the understanding, Chief, that this is still an ongoing investigation, was it ever found that Mr. Hogan may have been under the influence of any type of narcotics during the service?
Well, that's still too early to tell at this time because we're waiting on the toxicology reports from the autopsy, and again, that's going to go to the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigations before it would come to me, and I would dare not make an assumption on anything of that nature.
Chief, can you give us a little bit of somewhat of a timeline from when you receive a call to go to the Speedway, and then when your officers caught up with Mr. Hogan, who either walked or rode a bike away from that store, and then how long a period of time was elapsed? The reason I ask is because the family had mentioned possibly him getting to his home and writing a note that he might have put on his door. I don't know if you can comment on that either.
Again, that's going into the specifics of the investigation, and I don't want to make any assumption. It appears that these chain of events all happen frequently, and so again, I'm going to let the Bureau of Criminal Investigations do their job, and they'll be able to provide the specifics on the timeline and all that.
You may have already answered this question, Chief. I don't know how many of your officers initially responded to the call on the officer's assistance know when the knife was discovered? Was there more than one officer that was on the scene when the shots were fired? Or?
Yes, it was. There was more than one officer on the scene.
Can you give us the idea how many are under currently not suspension, but under department policy?
Administrative leave.
We have 3 officers on administrative leave at this time. Hold on,
At the gas station, what was allegedly stolen? Do you know, was it a Snickers bar or was it something more valuable?
No, I believe it was a, I'm not altogether sure, so I don't want to speculate, but we were called there for a theft complaint from the store.
Are you releasing the officers' names?
At this time, no. We have forwarded everything to our city law director. He's reviewing everything that was requested by your news agencies, and at that point, you will get our response. Okay.
How many officers discharged their weapons?
I can't answer that question too until the investigation is concluded by the BCI.
How many shots were fired?
I can't answer that question either until, because anything that I would know now would could change. And again, I don't want to say something and then I'm holding us to a number that the police chief said. So I want to let the Bureau of Criminal Investigations do their job, and then once that is completed, then we will follow up with another press conference.
Was the video tape from Speedway ever be released at all?
That's on the Bureau of Criminal Investigations. Again, this is, at this point, this is their criminal investigation. Our internal investigation is running concurrent with them, but they have the lead. And the one thing we're not going to do is, I've instructed all my people to hands down, stand down, that let them do their job, don't interfere. I don't want there to be any speculation or any potential that someone can say, oh, Trotwood interfered with this investigation. So we're standing out of the way, as is the policy now in the state of Ohio, that the Bureau of Criminal Investigation investigates these incidents involving officer-involved shootings, and we're going to let them do their job, and we're going to stay out of their way. And once they get done with their investigations, they will let us know, and then at that point in time, I will be able to speak more.
See, when is the last time the city of Trotwood had a police officer involved shooting regarding the residents or citizens of Trotwood?
It's been a few years. It's been a few. I don't have the specific date, so I'm not going to give one, but it's been a while. It's been a couple years.
Chief, how would body cameras on the officers impact this investigation? How would it make it easier and more difficult if you did have them?
Well, I mean, it's just another tool. I'm not against body cameras. I believe, that's just something that, you can see with your own eyes one way or the other. Only thing I'm interested in is the facts and the truth. And so it wouldn't hurt me one way or the other. As again, this is a tragic event that occurred, and one of our residents is lost in this endeavor. And so, I mean, whether body cameras were there, I don't think body cameras would have stopped anything. So I'm not against body cameras, and we're looking into how we can get those and put them out in our field force.
Chief, how much stress is this putting you on your department, your role? You're down 3 officers now. You're not a big police department, as
Sure.
most people know.
Yep.
How much stress is this putting on your department?
I mean, this is what we do. Okay, we can handle this. My feelings and my heart is going out to the family. It's not about that kind of stress for me. I think about this family and their loved ones and what they could be going through. To me, that's the bigger picture here.
I was more concerned about the citizens of Trotwood.
Sure, we'll be able to do our job. We are willing, we are able, and we're still out here. We're doing what we need to do.
Chief, there was just initial confrontation did sound, I mean, obviously not when your officers initially caught up with Mr. Hogan, because they used pepper spray, they may have used a baton, they may have used a taser. So it was somewhat of a violent confrontation between the officers and Mr. Hogan. Can you characterize then, because there was a release that said that they were waiting, once they realized he'd gone into an apartment in the complex, they were waiting, they had called for backup, is that what you're saying?
That is correct, yes, yes.
So they were, how would you characterize what they were doing at that point?
Again, I can't until the investigation is conducted. I'm not going to speculate, because that's what that question is asking me to speculate. And I understand what you're trying to do as far as your job, but I can't answer that in good faith right now, because I do not know and I do not want to speculate. You know, as protocols are, those officers are taken away from the scene. A walkthrough is conducted, and then they will be interviewed in greater detail by the Bureau of Criminal Investigation. So the one thing I definitely wasn't going to do is go poking my nose in there, asking a bunch of questions, because those officers would be compelled to talk to me as the chief, and I did not want to mess up this investigation in any shape or form. So I responded to the scene. I made sure that our city was safe, one, that we didn't have any other threat out there, and that we were able to do our jobs as well, because although we had this incident, we still had to provide police services in our community, which we did, and I let my people do their job, which they did, and now we're going to wait and let the Bureau of Criminal Investigations do their job before I make any statements that could possibly harm this investigation. So.
Chief, with respect to your officers, you mentioned the family and how your respect went toward them. Did you talk about your officers and your respect for them as well? Sure.
I mean, this is hard. You know, I could see in the look in their faces that this is troubling to them as well. You know, so I wish the best for them. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that they're taken care of physically as well as mentally as we work through this process. That's what my job here as the chief is, to make sure that my people are okay so they can serve the people of our community. All right?
Yesterday, the NAACP had a press conference. Dr. Forward said he had spoken with you the day before, and you told him body cameras would be a #1 priority going forward. Is that the case? And have you spoke with Mayor McDonald or Mr. Polk yet about finances?
Not about the finances, but I did, you know, we've all talked. I did talk with Dr. Forward. Body cameras are priority. They always have been. Just so everybody know, back in July, the NAACP came to the Chiefs of Police Association. I'm pretty sure you guys are aware of that. I was one of the chiefs that sat on the committee to sit down with the NAACP. It's not that nobody wants body cameras. What it is about is the cost. And so we are looking at and working with, you know, and as I told Mr. Forward, Dr. Forward, that yes, this is a priority for us, because I do understand, you know, what people, you know, we would have loved to had this on video. Okay, so yes, it is priority. Have I spoken with the mayor and the city manager? Absolutely, I have talked with them. But sometimes things are, you can't snap your finger. This ain't Alice in Wonderland. So we are working through it, and I have the support of not only the city manager and the mayor, but I know I have the support of our council as well in this endeavor, and we're going to try to get cameras out as soon as we can. Okay?
Chief, you said that the final confrontation was in a confined space. Was that inside an apartment or more like an apartment stairwell? Do you know?
I'm going to wait and let that all come out, Mike, with the when the investigation is brought forward. Again.
Can you tell us if it was inside or outside?
Excuse me?
Can you tell us whether it was inside or outside?
I'm going to let that when it comes out, because I could answer it one way and then it could be viewed as a second way. And again, this isn't to hold anything back. I just want to be careful in how these questions, because people are going to look for any inconsistency. And so I would prefer to wait and let BCI do their investigation, and then all that information will be brought to light.
Mr. Hogan's living situation, was he alone at the time of the shooting, or was there someone else in the house or apartment with him?
To my understanding, there was no one else at the residence. Okay.
What's the nature of the assault, Chief? In that initial report from Sergeant McCreary said assaulted one of the officers on the scene. What was that?
During the altercation, one of the officers was struck. I can say that. That's where the assault came from.
Fist or hand, not a knife at that point?
Yes, that is correct. I'm not going to say whether it was open hand or closed fist. I do not know. I just know one of the officers was struck,
Not the weapon.
But not with the weapon, no.
Okay.
All right. All right, thank you, guys.